Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the medium in the middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Join me every week. I release new episodes every Tuesday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 122. And in this episode, I want to talk about fear and boundaries. A really good question came up in my Reiki course this weekend. One of the Reiki Level 1 students mentioned that they are almost resisting the training because of the fear of what the opening would do. Based on what's already happened in their lives and what they've been going through, it's kind of like, what am I inviting in when I open even more? And I was like, wow, I'm sure so many people feel that way. And this is such a great conversation to have. So I wanted to bring this back to the podcast. And I just feel like over the past 2 weeks, I've been repeating. Go listen to episode 70 on boundaries. Go listen to episode 70 on boundaries. So since we are now at episode 122, I guess it's a great time to bring back the theme of episode 70 and talk about boundaries a little bit further in a different way. So if you haven't already listened to episode 70, go start there. It's a really, really good episode. And then come here for kind of part 2 or a continuation of that conversation. But I want this to be kind of focused on fear and control, because it's really important that you know that you are in control of your life, what you want, what you don't want. And that's what we're going to talk about this week on the podcast. So if you have been one of the people I have sent back to that episode, this episode is also for you. And with every Reiki course that I teach, I always recommend that they go and re-listen to episode 50 and episode 70 about boundaries and clearing your energy, because I always say once you're doing a course, you're opening up your spidey senses, things are getting heightened, and it's a good time to go back and add layers to your onion. You need more boundaries. You might need to change things. You might need to adjust. You might need to add those layers of the onion in order for you to still function and feel normal and feel in control. So I'm excited to expand on that today. Speaking of Reiki Level 1, this past weekend I taught Reiki Level 1, and it was during the new moon in Aries. And I don't know much about astrology at all. I just know that there was a new moon. And it was really interesting because usually on day 2 of the training, there's about half the group that's staring at me, mad at me. They're like, what did you do to me yesterday with those attunements? I didn't sleep. All these things happened. And then half the group is normally like, I had the best sleep ever. I cleaned my entire house. I had so much energy. So I explained that to everybody on the Saturday. And I say, you know what? Tomorrow, half of you are going to hate me. Half of you are going to love me. But trust the process. And when I was doing the check-in on Sunday, almost every single person, I think 10 out of 11 students, and even the 11th student was like, it wasn't a bad sleep. I'm just saying it wasn't the best. They all reported having a great sleep, feeling great, full of energy, all of this. And I was like, what? No one is going to, jump up and say, not me. And every single person was like, oh, how about you? They're like, no, I also had a great sleep. Someone else raised their hand. They're like, yeah, me too. And it was just really, really interesting that that was the first time I've been teaching Reiki Level 1 once a month for almost 2 years. And that was the first time every single person in the group had a good sleep. So really interesting. And it was interesting with the new moon. So energetically, that was cool. Anyways, and Reiki Level 1 on that topic. If you have been waiting to learn Reiki, the next Reiki Level 1 training is taking place May 14th and 15th. The course about half sold out to the wait list, so there's only a few spots left. But if you have had Reiki on your mind, if Reiki has been calling your name, then usually that's what happens when it's your time to take a course. So if that's for you, I'll leave the link down below in the show notes to sign up. But let's jump into this week's card pulls. I pulled 2 cards because I'm feeling festive today. I don't know. I always look at the cards and I'm like, what deck do I want to pull from? So first, I always do them in order that I pulled, even though I would like to do this opposite this week. First, I pulled from the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light Oracle deck. I've been really liking this deck the past few weeks. But I pulled the card Starseed. What lights you up? Reiki lights me up. Rebecca Campbell. Anyways, starseeds are souls with a double mission to raise their own consciousness and the consciousness of the planet. They are old souls who have incarnated elsewhere beyond this planet. Many starseeds arrive with the feeling that the time is running out and there is something that they came here to do or create or contribute. If you pulled this card, it is to confirm that you are a starseed and you are being encouraged to answer the call, to follow what lights you up. Once awake, most starseed souls find it hard to have meaningless conversations, jobs, and relationships. They innately know that there is much more to life and they feel that there is something more to get to work on. They remain restless until they step into their calling, which is to light up the world with their unique presence. Starseeds are scattered all over the planet, in hospitals and schools, in slums and mansions, on stages and in edit suites, in parks and nightclubs, in taxis and theme parks. Many starseeds spend part of their lives trying to fit in or in some sort of spiritual closet. If you are dimming your light to fit in, it is time that you stop and start embracing the unique light that you came here to share and treat your time on Earth like a glorious vacation. Ooh, a starseed. What lights you up? I like that card. I don't think I've ever pulled it before. But that's funny right after I talk about Reiki Level 1 because that's what lights me up. And I really do feel like that's what I'm here to do. It's part of my purpose, I'm sure. But it's just too much fun. Too many people are drawn to Reiki. It aligns so perfectly every single time. I have sold out every single course I have ever ran. That is insane. So I'm very, very feeling in alignment with that. So this card is actually for you guys, not for me. When I shuffle the cards, I'm asking, my intention is, what do the listeners need to know? What's helpful for you, whoever's listening to this, whenever you listen to it. So if it's not April 2022, whenever it is coming to your ears, this is for you. But I like when it also kind of resonates with me. And the second card, surprise, surprise, is from the Colette Baron Reid Enchanted Map deck. Who would I be if I did not pull a card from the Colette Baron Reid Enchanted Map deck? Don't even think I would be medium in the middle. But I like this for today's topic, card 22, Intention. Deliberate, clear intentions have the power to change your world. Your objective will be fulfilled at this time. Inspired intentions are like magic arrows shot into the sky. The universe is bringing you a gift, showing you that you are hitting your mark. Recognize that you're not the one who has to do all the work. However, others help you co-create reality. You connect to the power of your intention, sending it out into the field, then allow for synchronicity to work its magic. Perhaps the good intentions of others will inspire you to send out beautiful ones of your own. Own the life you want to lead and live deliberately with clarity and detachment. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to read it reversed as well because this might be helpful. Are you clear about your intentions or are you in a foggy state of denial about your true motives and or ambitions? This is the time to step back and gain perspective and clarity about your direction. Check your motives and ask if they are sincere. Are you pursuing some goal blindly without asking its costs? Good intentions are being misinterpreted. Now is a time for self-evaluation and self-nurturing. You will benefit greatly if you take time out to regroup. Okay, card 22, Intentions. If you want to see the cards, I post them every week on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. I will link that down below in the show notes as well. But Starseed and Intention. There's a theme. I like it. This topic came up a few different times at this weekend's training, and it felt like a loss of control in your life in a certain area. And I want to specifically talk about spirituality. I want to specifically talk about spirit bothering you, you not be able to go out to dinner, concerts, you not being able to sleep, having visitations in your dreams. These are the type of things I want to discuss today because I swear it blew my mind when my mentor told me that I am in control. I can tell spirit what to do when I want communication, when I don't. And I just want to scream that from every rooftop forever because everybody needs to know this. And there should be no fear in expanding because you are always in control. I think fear with anything new is always normal, like not knowing what's going to happen after you take Reiki level 1. Will you be able to start talking to dead people all of a sudden? That is fine to have that type of fear. But what is not okay is if you don't feel in control, if you don't feel safe, or if you feel worried in regards to like, oh no, how is this going to change my life? What am I going to do? So I want to talk about that today because I say this a lot in my trainings, but this applies outside of just Reiki trainings, just outside of my mentorship as well. This applies to everybody listening, so I want to share it again. My first favorite word is manifesting. My second favorite word is boundaries. And boundaries can seem like a scary word. I feel like they maybe have a bad rep. But when you're thinking about boundaries, I always say, think about it this way. What do you want in your life? What do you don't want in your life? That is simply what you state, and those are your boundaries. If you feel controlled by your cell phone, you are fully in control to say, I don't look at my cell phone till 9 a.m. and I stop looking at my phone at 8 p.m. That is a boundary. If you feel spirit is bothering you in your sleep, you can declare that they cannot bother you. You are in control. If you feel overwhelmed when you go out in public, you can declare that you are not picking up other people's energies. But I will say this. Intention is very important. So when you set your intention, what you say, what you want and you don't want, it is very important. And the intention behind your boundaries is really what drives them in order to make them work for you. So if you are feeling a sense of fear, if you are feeling a sense of overwhelm, I want you to look at your situation and be mindful of where you can set a boundary, add a boundary, and layer up. So especially as we continue to develop in our spiritual realm or world, whatever you want to say, your awakening, be mindful that you are shifting and changing, and your boundaries also need to shift and change. You might need to add some, you might need to take away some. Something that worked for you before may no longer work for you. Some things might need to be doubled up, tripled up. In Reiki, we do everything by threes. So when in doubt, do it 3 times. And it's really interesting. I always like to use the analogy of an onion. We're going back to Shrek here and using that reference of the layers of the onion. So before, I always joke and say, like, the muggles of the world, they might only need 1 or 2 layers of the onion because they're not very aware. As soon as you have those glasses of awareness on, as soon as you have an awakening, have a spiritual awakening, take a Reiki course, take a mediumship development course, as soon as you're in it and the glasses are on, your 2 layers of the onion are not enough. You may need more. And that's okay. It's just like as we change, and I like to think of it as the weather. We wouldn't go outside in the winter in flip-flops and shorts. And flip-flops and shorts is fine in the summer, but yes, we're not in the summer. So what works for you in the summer is not going to protect you in the winter. And that's what I kind of want you to think about this as for every season, if you are somewhere that has seasons, you wear different clothing to protect you. So in the summertime, shorts, sandals, t-shirt, you're totally fine. In the wintertime, you need a sweater, you need a long sleeves, you need long johns, you need a jacket, you need a hat, you need mitts. Think of this as your seasons of boundaries. Do you need to add a hat? Do you need to add mitts? Do you need something a little bit more? And I've shared this before on the podcast in regards to when I used to go out into public situations, I would feel very overwhelmed. And my mentor at the time said, so what do you do? And I was like, well, I try to avoid public situations. She said, Steph, you can't hide in your house your whole life. And I was like, that is true. So she said, you are in control, turn down the volume. So before I used to leave my house, I would imagine there was a giant volume dial on the back of my front door. And physically, with my arms out in front of me, I would turn the volume down. Just like you were turning it down in your car radio. I would turn the volume down, turn the volume down, turn the volume down. And in my mind, I was turning down spirit. I was turning down my spidey senses. I was turning down, I don't even want to say my intuition, but my ability to connect. It was like, nope, I'm going out to dinner and I am being human. Nope, I am turning down the volume. And I would do that before I left the house. Now, if I was out at dinner and my spidey senses started to perk up, just like a dog's ears peeking up, I would be like, ooh, what's happening? Okay, I feel a leak in my boundary. What am I going to do? I'm going to turn the volume down, turn the volume down, turn the volume down. This doesn't mean that my boundary doesn't work. This doesn't mean that I'm a failure. This just means I need to remind myself of what my intention was. My intention is that I'm out to dinner. I'm not picking up the spirits of the people at my dinner table, the dinner table next to me, my server, nobody in this restaurant. I am having a normal human experience eating this dinner, and that is my intention. So if I start to feel a little diddly-dee, then volume down, volume down, volume down. Maybe I walk to the washroom and I wash my hands, I take a few deep breaths, I recenter myself, I ground myself, and I go back to the dinner table with the intention that my volume is down. So, fast forward years later, do I still put my arms out in front of me and turn down my volume dial that's on the back of my door? No, because I have set that intention and that boundary so many times that I now no longer physically have to do that, but that boundary is still there. Do I still turn the volume down when I'm out in public and my spidey senses are on? Yes, I still have to refresh that. And that is okay. I'm just restating that I am a human, having a human experience, going out to dinner. It is fine for me to be in a crowd. It is fine for me to stand in a lineup. I don't have to feel overwhelmed. I don't have to be afraid. This is in my control. This is my energy, and this is my eggshell, and I decide what comes into it. So, this is how I want you to view your boundaries and what you need in regards to the layers of the onion. Do you always need to turn down the volume before you leave the house, or maybe just when you're going to a party or a bigger event? Do you need to set the intention every night before sleep, or is it just once a week you do a little refresh? So just know that when you are setting these boundaries, thinking about what you want, what you don't want, that's literally exactly how you word your boundaries. I want this. I am not accepting this. You are not permitted to. I am not allowing spirit to wake me up in the night. My mind will rest when I sleep. It will not dance all night so that I wake up and I'm not rested. But you have to be mindful of these things. You have to declare what you want and you don't want. And you also have to have intention behind it. Why do you not want to be woken up in the middle of the night? You need a restful sleep. Perfect. That's your intention. I need a restful sleep. My mind needs rest. And sometimes that means, okay, spirit's knocking at your door, knocking at your door, knocking at your door. You're like, no, 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 no. Well, where in your life can you open the door? Where can you be like, okay, spirit, don't come bother me when I'm sleeping, but in morning meditation, you have the first 5 minutes. Don't come dance in my dreams, but before bed when I'm journaling, I'm going to automatic write for 5 minutes, and that can be my brain dump. Whatever it may be, you have to decide what it is. I find the problems happen or the difficulty happens when we don't take control of these situations, when we feel helpless, when we feel like we're not in charge. And this is my reminder to you to pull your power back, pull your awareness back, pull these things back into your power because you are in charge. You are in charge of your energy. You are in charge of what comes in and what comes out. You are in charge of your boundaries. And it's interesting because as I was looking for episode 70 and episode 50, I think it's episode 68, I can't remember as I was scrolling through, but I talked about why are psychics angry in a podcast episode. And in that episode, I talked about it is because they don't have any boundaries and they feel walked all over because they are. So of course they're going to feel trampled when you have no boundaries. If you don't close your window, you can't be mad that all the birds fly in and start pooping in your house. You left your window open. If you put a screen up, the birds won't come in your house. Simple. If you choose not to put a screen up, you can't continue to complain that the birds flew in your house. So in that episode, I talk about it further because that's why I find spirituality can sink people. It's when they feel like they're not in control. It's when they feel like they're just a victim. I know a victim isn't the greatest word to use, but you feel attacked, you feel not in control, you feel like you don't know what to do. And my answer to you is set a boundary, say what you want, say what you don't want, set an intention, and it will help you immensely. I was challenged this week in my boundaries being pushed, and I was getting angry that my boundaries were being pushed. And this was more for like personal relationships. There was a lot of situations and it was a theme, so I knew I was a lesson I had to learn. But there was a few different relationships in my life where I was just feeling like I was taking a mother role. And then I was mad at myself that I was the one that like was always having to make the decisions, was always having to plan things, was always having to be responsible, was always having to whatever it may be. And I was just like, nope, it is my fault that I am allowing someone else to push my boundary. I can just as easily say no. I can just as easily say I'm not available. I can just as easily not pick up the phone, not pick up the text message. I cannot sit here now in anger because I allowed someone else to push my boundary, because I did something I didn't want to do, because I agreed to something I didn't want to agree to. That is my fault. That's not their fault. And when you pull the power back into your awareness, it gives you the power to shift and change your response and your energy. So it was interesting because I also got a really big lesson in that this week. And I was like, this is a theme. Why is this bothering me? And I was venting to another friend and she was like, ooh, you're really being challenged here. And I was like, oh my gosh. Of course I am. How did I not see this lesson? How did I not see this pattern? How did I not see that the same thing is coming up with 3 different people right now? This is a me problem. This is something I need to deal with and something I need to change. You cannot be mad at the external world when you allow them to break your boundary. That's a you problem. And once you realize that and you shift your behavior, everything is better. So last week I was feeling super overwhelmed. I felt like I was sinking. I felt like everybody was asking me for something. I felt like I was carrying every relationship on my back. I felt just like pulled in every direction and I was drained. And it wasn't until I had this chat with a friend and I was like, oh my God, if one more person asks me for something, I'm going to like sink to the bottom of the ocean. And she brought back to my awareness, like, sounds like a boundary problem. Sounds like you could be in control of this. Sounds like you just have to say no. Sounds like you just have to declare what you want and what you don't want. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yes, of course it is. And I'm just being smacked in the face with this giant lesson. And I'm sitting here feeling like I'm sinking to the bottom of the ocean where 10 of these problems are not my problem. And again, in my Reiki courses, I talk about kind of these things as suitcases. We carry other people's suitcases. And when we realize it's not our suitcase that we have to carry, it's like, why am I sinking to the bottom of the ocean with these 87 suitcases when only 5 of these suitcases belong to me? So do a little scan in your life, see how you're feeling. I am not an expert in this. I am still learning. I still get challenged. I still get taught these lessons the hard way sometimes. And this week I was like at my edge. And then that happened. I had that conversation, and then I had the 2 students bring up fear about it, and I was like, oh no one needs to be afraid. No one needs to be afraid about their growth, their expansion, spirituality, their gifts, opening up to Reiki, opening up to mediumship. There should be no fear that you are not in control. Fear of the unknown, fear of something new, fear of all of that is fine. Fear is normal, but you should not feel like you're not in control. So I hope this episode empowers you. I hope it gives you some tools to support you and set those boundaries, because remember, do not sink to the bottom of the ocean. Release those suitcases you don't need to hold. You are in control, and boundaries will help you immensely. On episode 70, I start the episode by saying, the answer to most questions I get is, sounds like you need to set a boundary. And that's still the case, but I do find that it just needs to be explained a little bit more, because sometimes we don't know how to set a boundary, what to do, what that means. And the simple case is declare what you want, declare what you don't want. So in the cases where I was feeling taken advantage of in all these situations, I was also saying yes to a lot of things I could have easily said no to. Hey, I'm not available for that. Hey, I'm not able to help you with that this week. Hey, I can't do that, what you're requesting. And I love it, like repeats in my mind on the daily. No is a full sentence. And while I still have a really hard time just saying no, I always give a reason. I always like tell myself no is a full sentence. And if I need that as a boundary, I can. The last question that I'll answer regarding this is someone asked me if I say my boundaries out loud or in my head, and it really depends what it is. So for example, with spirit in my sleep, sometimes I do say it out loud, like, okay, I'm going to sleep and no one's going to wake me up and I'm going to have a restful sleep and my dreams are going to be calm. And I'll kind of declare it that way. Sometimes I just say it in my mind. It really depends on you and what you like, what works for you. But I find I do a mix. If I'm home alone, I will talk out loud to myself. Love a good talk out loud to yourself moment, or talk to your dog that doesn't answer. I realized today how much I talk to Archie and how wonderful it is that he doesn't answer. I tell him jokes, I laugh, I say all these things, and he just stares at me. And doesn't even look like he pretends to understand. He's just like, you are crazy, woman, talking to a dog. Anyways, I know all dog owners do this, so I feel, as one. That's what I wanted to chat about today on the podcast. Come back to this episode whenever you need that reminder, whenever you have an opening, whenever you have a shift after you take your level 1, come listen to this again. That is all I have for you this week. If you do want to make an appointment with me for Akashic Records, Psych K, or Distance Reiki, those are all offered virtually, and you can book that with the link down below in the show notes. I am also very excited to announce that my new in-person space in Banff is open as of today, actually. So come see the new space. It has windows. It's beautiful. It's in the same building as I was, literally just down the hallway. It's bigger and brighter, and it has windows. And as an energy worker, having windows again is just chef's kiss. Come on and see me. I will leave all the links that you need down below in the show notes. If you need tickets for Mediums in the Mountains on May 29th with me and a medium named Bree, we are doing a live mediumship reading. I'm so excited for that. And it will be very fun. Tickets are limited and the event is over half sold out. So I know the event is going to sell out. I know it's going to sell out in April. It is fun being psychic sometimes. So if you want your tickets, do not wait. And if you haven't already, I would love and appreciate a rating and a review on this podcast. It really helps me out in the podcast world and land. Thank you for leaving a 5-star review and a review. I promise it just takes 15 seconds of your time and it means the world to little old me sitting in my bedroom in Banff recording this for the world. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you found value. I hope that was helpful. And I will see you next Tuesday in your ears. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.